I've received essays from students who will say something like, Plato was a student of Socrates, and then give a citation for the statement, where they then cite the textbook of a sign for the course. Now that's an example of a claim that doesn't need a citation, because in this context, it would count as common knowledge. And as a general rule, you don't have to cite facts or claims that are common knowledge. But this can be confusing to students who may not have known this particular fact about Plato before taking the course or reading it in the textbook, so it wouldn't count as common knowledge to them. And this points to ambiguities in the concept of common knowledge that need to be cleared up. So, what counts as common knowledge? Well, it turns out there is no consensus view of what should count as common knowledge for citation purposes. It's one of those topics that writing experts will disagree about, and the criteria for common knowledge can vary among disciplines and among academic and professional cultures. But there are a few guidelines that most people would agree on. First, you don't have to cite commonly reported facts. The statement that Plato was a student of Socrates is an example of a commonly reported fact. Now, this doesn't imply that you, the writer, knew this fact before sitting down to write your essay. Ideally, what we would like to see is two things. One, the fact can be found in numerous independent sources. So, if you can look it up in an encyclopedia or a textbook or a magazine article, and it's the same claim being made in all these independent sources, then it's a commonly reported fact. You don't have to cite the melting point of lead, for instance, or who won the Academy Award for Best Picture in 2002, since anyone can look up this information. Now, there may be some facts that aren't easily found in reference works, but that are widely regarded as true by a large group of people, or by people within a certain discipline. And if this is the case, then you can often treat these kinds of facts as common knowledge. But whether this is a good idea or not may depend on the discipline you're writing in, or on the context in which you're writing, and on the specific audience you're writing for. For example, if I was writing for an audience of physicists who were all familiar with Albert Einstein's theories and achievements, I could get away with saying, without citing a source, that Einstein was unhappy with the standard interpretation of quantum theory, or that he was a better physicist than he was a mathematician, since both of these would be regarded as common knowledge by this particular audience. But if I was writing for a more general audience, I would probably want to back up these claims with a source. Now let me add an additional caution when it comes to citing commonly reported facts. You don't have to cite common knowledge, but you do have to cite specific expressions of this common knowledge when those expressions are not your own. For example, if I look up Charles Darwin in the encyclopedia, I can use common facts about Darwin that I learned from that article in my essay without citing the encyclopedia entry. But I can't summarize or paraphrase long passages from this entry without citing the source, since now I'm doing something else. Now I'm borrowing the language and the specific expression of ideas from that source, rather than just the facts. Okay, we talked about commonly reported facts and some of the issues to watch out for. There's another category of common knowledge that we should mention, and that's common sayings. I don't have to cite a source when I use expressions like, where there's a will, there's a way, or don't count your chickens before they're hatched, or absence makes the heart grow fonder. It's true, it's not my language, I didn't make these up, but you'll never be charged with plagiarism because everyone reading your essay will recognize them as common sayings and will know that you're not trying to pass them off as your own invention. Well, that's about all I have to say about common knowledge right now. The upshot is that you don't have to cite common knowledge, but you have to be careful about what you're treating as common knowledge, and you have to be careful to distinguish common knowledge, which you don't have to cite, from specific expressions of common knowledge, which you do have to cite.